Soil organic matter consists of a whole series of products which range from undecayed plant and animal tissues to fairly amorphous brown to black materials bearing no trace of the anatomical structure of the material, which is referred to as humus. In addition to organic constituents present in the undecayed plant and animal tissues, soil organic matter contains living and dead microbial cells. Microbiologically synthesized compounds and derivatives of these materials produced as a result of microbial decay. The composition of humus contains 50% carbon, 35% oxygen, 5% nitrogen and 5% hydrogen. Organic matter is often called the life of the soil. The physical and chemical properties of soils depend on soil organic matter. Activities of soil microorganisms, most of the cation exchange capacity and aggregate stability of soils and moisture retentive capacity depends on soil organic matter. The main source of soil organic matter is plant tissues. The root and shoot system of trees, shrubs, grasses and other plants supply large quantities of organic residues every year. Animals which feed on plant material leave their own bodies in the soil after life cycles. Let us study the topic on soil organic matter in different headings, namely components of soil organic matter, functions of soil organic matter, factors affecting organic matter decomposition, influence of organic matter on soil properties, harmful effects of soil organic matter, economic levels of soil organic matter, loss of soil organic matter from soils, addition of organic matter to soils. Soil organic matter can be conveniently divided into two groups, namely humic substances and non-humic substances. Let us study the first one, humic substances. Humic substances are those materials produced in the soil are either yellow or brown to black, acidic, polydispersed substances of high molecular weight. Based on the solubility, humic substances are divided into three classes, namely fulvic acid, which is thought to be the lowest molecular weight and is alkali and acid soluble. Humic acid, which is of medium molecular weight and alkali soluble but acid insoluble, and humus, which is apparently of the higher molecular weight and is soluble in both alkali and acid except under the most drastic conditions. Humus is a complex and rather resistant mixture of brown, amorphous and colloidal substances modified from the original tissues or synthesized by the various soil organisms. Humus is in dynamic condition. In humus, 40 to 45% lignin and 30 to 33% proteins and rest are fats, waxes and residual materials. Lignin and proteins constitute about 70 to 80%, hence humus is called lignin protein complex. In humus, the carbon hydrogen ratio is 10:1. In most of the Indian soils, average carbon nitrogen ratio is 14:1. Humus is capable of absorbing phosphate ions from soil solution but not other ions. Nature and characteristics of humus. Tiny colloidal humus particles, that is micelles, are composed of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Surface area of humus colloidal is very high, generally exceeds that of silicate clays. Negatively charged, the sources of charge being carboxylic or phenolic groups. The extent of the negative charge is pH dependent, that is high at high pH. Water holding capacity is 4 to 5 times more than that of silicate clays. At high pH, the cation exchange capacity, that is CEC, is 150 to 300 centimoles per kg of soil. Low plasticity and cohesion, thus favorable effect on aggregate formation and stability. Black in color. Cation exchange reactions with humus are qualitatively similar to those occurring with silicate clays. Second one, non-humic substances. Non-humic substances include all those classes of compounds occurring in plants and microorganisms that appear to have relatively definite characteristics. Examples: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, waxes, resins, pigments, and low molecular weight compounds. Most of these could be relatively easily attacked by soil microorganisms and has a rapid turnover in the soil. Organic matter added to the soil serves many beneficial purposes. The main functions of organic matter are summarized as follows: coarse organic matter on the surface residues, the impact of the falling raindrops and permit clear water to steep gently into reduced, and as a result there is more water available for plant growth. Trashy and coarse organic matter on the surface of the soils will reduce lesser of soils by wind erosion. Decomposing organic matter produces slimes which help to form and stabilize desirable soil structure. Plant roots are thus able to eat and to breathe more freely. Live roots decay and provide channels down through which new plant roots grow luxuriantly. Some root channels are effective in transmitting water downwards, a part of which is stored for future use by plants. Fresh organic matter supplies food for such soil life as earthworms, ants, and rodents. These animals burrow in the soil and in doing so permit plant roots to obtain more oxygen and to readily release carbon dioxide as they grow more vigorously. Surface mulches lower soil temperature in the summer and keep the soil warmer in winter. As a result, plant roots grow better at all seasons. Evaporation losses of water are reduced by organic mulches. In this way, there will be more water available for plant growth, especially in the surface soil where more plant nutrients are present. The plant nutrients in the surface layers of the soil is not available for the plant growth unless soil moisture is also available in the surface layer. By reducing evaporation losses of water, organic mulches help in making both water and more plant nutrients available for a more luxuriant plant growth. Upon decomposition, organic matter supplies varying amount of the 16 elements needed by growing plants, as well as many essential hormones and antibiotics. These nutrients are released in harmony with the need of the plants. When conditions are favorable for rapid growth, the same conditions favor a rapid release of nutrients from decomposing organic matter results in larger crop yields. A soil with high organic matter has more available water for plant growth than the same soil with less organic matter results in enhancement of plant growth. Organic matter helps the better soils against rapid chemical changes due to addition of lime and fertilizers. Organic acids released during the decomposition of organic matter help to dissolve slowly available soil minerals and to make them more available to growing plants. Humus, that is decomposed organic matter, provides a storehouse for the exchangeable and available cations potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Temporarily, humus holds available nitrogen as ammonium in an exchangeable and available form for greater plant growth. Fresh organic matter has special function in making soil phosphorus more rapidly available in acid soils. Upon decomposition, organic matter releases certain organic compounds which combine with iron and aluminum more readily than that of phosphorus. Further, result in the formation of insoluble iron and aluminum phosphate and more phosphorus availability. Organic matter greatly aids in the process of rock weathering, whereby otherwise insoluble materials are made available for greater plant growth. Organic matter reduces the toxicity of plant poisons that have accumulated in the soil as a result of the continuous use of insecticides. Although the quantity is small, organic matter supplies food for all living things in the soil. Unless there is a sufficient amount of fresh active organic matter in the soil cannot be very productive. Therefore, attempts should be made to maintain the organic matter content of every soil as high as possible. In the virgin soil, there is a large amount of organic matter due to its constant accumulation from residues of natural vegetation as well as from animals. As soon as the soil is brought under the flow, accumulation stops because the natural vegetation is destroyed and decomposition is hastened. Thus, organic matter is depleted very rapidly. This is especially true in tropical countries such as India because of the year-long activity of the microorganisms. The best way to increase the organic matter content in the soil is to abandon it to nature. First one, moisture. When large quantities of organic matter are applied as manure in arid regions, the slender moisture in the soil may be largely used for the decomposition of organic matter, and the crop following may well suffer from lack of moisture. Second one, temperature. The soil organisms are most active at 24 to 35 degrees centigrade. Organic matter of Indian soils is low because of the high rate of decomposition under tropical and subtropical climates. Except in few localized areas in the hilly and high altitudes regions, the organic matter in most of the cultivated soils rarely exceeds 1%. Organic matter content in Indian soils is generally 0.5%. Third one, aeration. In clay soils, decomposition is less rapid. Fourth one, carbon-nitrogen ratio. Nitrogenous amendments increase evolution of carbon dioxide and greater loss of cellulose, hemicelluloses and polysaccharides. Low nitrogen content or wide carbon-nitrogen ratio slows down decaying process. Therefore, carbon-nitrogen ratio is used for predicting the rate of decomposition. It is important in controlling the available nitrogen, total organic matter and the rate of organic decay, and in developing sound soil management schemes. The carbon-nitrogen ratio of arable soil is 8:1 to 15:1. A little variation is due to climatic conditions, namely temperature and rainfall. The carbon-nitrogen ratio is lower in arid soil and subsoil. Carbon-nitrogen ratio in plant is 20 to 30:1 in legumes and farm manures and as high as 400:1 in sawdust. In microbes, it is 4:1 to 9:1. The carbon-nitrogen value for soil is in between plant and microbes. It is lower in arid soils than that of humid soils when annual temperature is about the same. It is also lower in warmer regions than in cooler ones if the rainfall is about equal. Effect on soil color. The soils that are rich in soil organic matter appears brown to black. Influence on physical properties. The soil organic matter improves water holding capacity and granulation and reduces plasticity, cohesion, etc. High cation adsorption capacity. Soil organic matter increases 2 to 30 times as great as mineral colloid and account for 30 to 90% of the absorbing power of mineral soils. Supply and availability of nutrients. Soil organic matter responsible for presence of easily replaceable cations. In addition, nitrogen, phosphorus and sulfur held in organic forms and extraction of element from minerals by acid humus. Harmful effects of soil organic matter. Numerous plants contain or produce phytotoxins, that is plant toxins. The phytotoxins make such residues undesirable organic matter at least temporarily. Unfortunately, the problem of phytotoxin production cannot always be avoided. The decomposition of many plant residues produces such toxins. This production of toxins is a form of allelopathy, either toxic or beneficial chemicals called allelochemicals may be in the plant and exuded by roots or leached from the foliage or roots. The chemicals may be released after death of the plant or produced by hydrolysis or other enzymatic breakdown processes of the plant materials. For example, acetic acid is produced in the cool, wet, anaerobic decomposition of wheat straw and is toxic to barley seedlings planted into the wheat stubble. The allelochemicals identified include many organic substances broadly categorized as alkaloids, nasoxyzones, cinnamic acid derivatives, coumarins, cyanogenic compounds, flavonoids, polyacetylens, quinines and terpenes. Economic levels of soil organic matter. Wide ranges of organic matter contents in soils ensue from the effects of climate, plant cover and variations that occur in different soils because of management, location, texture and soil origin. Uncultivated soils are higher in total soil organic matter than those soils after years of cultivation. The obvious exceptions include arid soils that supported almost no plants before cultivation, but due to irrigation have an increase in humus content. Plants can grow well in mineral soils without any organic matter and also in organic soils if fertilizers are added. Commercial greenhouses and nurseries use mixed potting media with as much as 30 to 100% peat moss or other organic materials. The optimum level of organic matter that should be maintained in soil has never been determined, nor would it be a single value for all cases. Generally, organic matter in the soil improves plant growth to a farmer. However, the bottom line for determining a good level of organic matter to maintain depends on cost and convenience. It is usually too costly and inconvenient to purposefully build up organic matter in soils by means other than incorporating plant residues and disposing of available manures. Plant residues or sewage, sludge onto nearby soil. A practical thumb rule is to use all available crop residues by incorporating them into the soil. Apply minimum fertilizer economically feasible to produce maximum plant size for larger harvests. The organic matter may last from soils in many ways. In fact, it is such an active material that in the presence of bacteria under favorable conditions, it is broken down and in part dissipated by them. If it is not lost in other ways, the factors contributing for loss of organic matter are presented here under. Erosion. As dry organic matter is light in weight, fragments of it on the surface float readily and are carried from the land by runoff water. In addition, organic matter in the soil itself is lost by erosion. Fire. In the early days of agriculture, fire was used to burn the residues from previous crops. For a few years, the destruction of such organic matter did not reduce yields seriously. As the years have passed, continued burning of such residues as the stubble of small grains and stalks of corn and cotton has reduced the organic content of soils to a point that is now limiting yields on the many soils. Not only does burning destroy all the carbonaceous material that could be decomposed in the soil with many beneficial effects, but the nitrogen content is released to the atmosphere, a dead loss to the soil and to crops. Obviously, unless crop residues are definitely known to be infested with harmful insects or crop diseases, burning them ordinarily produces only harmful effects on soils and crops. Decay and leaching. The decay of organic matter in soils cannot and need not be prevented. Decay is perfectly natural, in fact necessary. If plants are to grow, plants require nutrients that can be provided only through decay by the organisms of the soils. This decay and liberation of plant nutrients goes on regardless of whether or not crop plants are present to use them. If plant roots are not take up the nutrients, they are lost by leaching out in the drainage water. By reference to it is seen that cropping reduced percolation by 1/3. It may be seen that very marked reduction in the loss of nutrients, nitrogen in particular, in drainage from cropped soils. Cropping the land therefore is a way of avoiding heavy loss of nitrogen in drainage. If land in humid regions is not needed for crop production, cover crops that conserve nitrogen and other nutrients may be grown. The cover crops may be incorporated down and nutrients conserved by them are released for use by subsequent crops. Cropping. Cropping facilitates the decay of organic matter in the soil, and crops use nutrients that become available from organic matter in the process of decay. As stated in the previous paragraphs, nitrogen and other nutrients after being made available are lost from uncropped lands. Crops use these nutrients, and when the crops are harvested, they are removed from the land. In the case of a crop such as wheat or potato, the nutrients obtained from the soil are in the main not returned to the soil from which they came. To that extent, therefore, cropping removes the soil products of the decay of organic materials. Fallowing. In the drier areas, the soil is cultivated during alternate years in order to accumulate moisture for crops during the year of fallow. The soil organisms destroy organic matter if ample moisture is present. Rains leach soluble materials, particularly nitrates, from the body of the soil itself. Fortunately, from the standpoint of loss of organic matter, rainfall in these areas is light. On the other hand, much of the growing season, rainfall comes in heavy showers that cause surface runoff losses in addition to those by leaching. Addition of organic matter to soils. Though there are no ways of holding organic matter unchanged in moist soils, there are numerous ways of adding plant materials to the soil. The organic content of the soil cannot be built up rapidly and maintained at high levels for reasonable cost. The alternative is making annual or at least frequent additions of plant materials to the soil. Addition of fertilizers and lime if needed. The use of fertilizers wherever soils are deficient in one or more of the important plant nutrients may be expected to increase crop yields under normal conditions. At the same time, the plant is producing a larger root system and a large growth of the usual unharvested part of the plants. Adding phosphorus is particularly important on much of the humid area because of the widespread deficiency of this element in the soil. Addition of potash in some form is beneficial on many sandy and gravelly soil in humid areas. For potash in available form is not present in sufficient quantities. In intensive agriculture such as in vegetables and fruit production, the use of nitrogenous fertilizers in addition to increasing yields may aid in producing more residues as well as more cover crop material to go back into the soil. The soils that are too acid for good growth of legumes, the addition of some form of agricultural lime is essential. Not only do the legumes, if inoculated, fix for their own use, but also they supply nitrogen for non-leguminous crops as well. The residues from legumes readily provide nutrients to other crops. Return of crop residues. The term crop residues include the stubble and roots of such crops as the small grains, hay crops, and the grain and forage sorghum, soybean, roots and stalks of corn, cotton and broom corn, and the roots and tops of trimmings of vegetables. Under certain conditions where straw is not needed for bedding livestock, and straw and other leftovers from crops are regarded as crop residues. The burning of any of these materials under normal conditions results in poor in soil economy and bad soil management. Not only does the fire destroy the carbonaceous material that might serve as a source of energy for soil organisms and be of real service in maintaining favorable physical conditions, but it also liberates the nitrogen present to the atmosphere. Return of green and farm manures. Farm manures and green manures may be returned to the soil to excellent advantages. Farm manures, if protected from undue loss, produce better crop yields. Pasturing of crops. The grazing of certain crops has some advantages from the standpoint of labor on the farm. The droppings from pastured crops are fairly well distributed over the grazed area. Rotation of crops. Legumes are grown in rotation of crops. Non-legumes such as corn, cotton, wheat and grass are often grown in a year on the same land. In a humid area, a rotation such as corn, oats, clover and timothy may be considered. Based on the information furnished on the topic entitled Soil Organic Matter, it can be inferred that organic matter considered as life of soil, which helps in improving the physical, chemical and biological properties of soils, thus able to improve the fertility status of soils for better crop productivity.